So I hope that today you will get a detailed understanding of how data analytics and AI complement each other. Uh, Also understand how M3 customers can build a foundation for data analytics and AI, and also see what Fortune does to help people with this journey. So I'm James Abdul, the SVP for UK and Europe at Fortune, and I'm joined today by Gogula, AVP for Data and AI. He's the real brains. Um, Before we start, let me share a brief introduction to Fortune. So, like a lot of you, we're an Info customer because our parent Brandix is one of the largest users of M3 globally, and this is where the consulting business Fortune was born. So, Fortune is a global alliance partner with Infor, implementing M3 around the world, and we have extensive expertise in Info's business intelligence and performance management tools, including Info BI, Burst, and DEPM. We have one of the largest M3 consulting resource bases globally, with expertise in fashion, food and beverage, manufacturing, and distribution. Interlint, a Fortune brand, is a Microsoft Gold partner providing technology solutions in business applications and data and AI to empower industry leaders in manufacturing, distribution and sales, insurance, and healthcare across the globe. So we transform business operations with Dynamics 365 Business Central and the Power Platform for better digital alignment. We deliver impact to our customers' digital journeys by empowering them to innovate, optimize, and streamline their business processes. So, looking at the agenda for today, we'll focus on some key areas of data and AI, starting with an introduction to the analytics landscape and emerging challenges. We'll look at some common pitfalls that we found in analytics journeys. We'll take a dive into how M3 users can benefit from data analytics. And then finally, we'll look at how Fortune's approach can help you drive growth with data and AI. We'll then have some time for questions, but please, at any point, feel free to type questions into the chat box and we will get to them. So, look, that's enough from me. Let me hand you over to Gogula.
Thank you, James, and welcome. So when we look at the data world around us, we can see that the analytics landscape is changing, especially with how AI is entering into everything that we experience nowadays. At the center of analytics is always data. So using this data, we have creators authoring different types of content to allow consumers to make different types of decisions. So that is what you see in this screen here. There can be different types of content creators who use this data to create the content and then give that to the consumers. For example, if you take data analysts, they mash up and prep the data and do different types of analysis, such as Pareto analysis, what if analysis, and so on. The results of the analysis, they put on reports and dashboards and send it off to the stakeholders. Business users also create simple dashboards and scorecards at times, and especially if they have the information such as the KPIs and business measures already calculated and readily available for themselves. Then you have developers creating complex reports after writing complex queries on top of the data. You also have data scientists who pick and choose the data that they want and build data science models to predict results. Now, all of this content is then consumed by the management, like directors or the CXOs, to see how the business is performing. It is also consumed by other business users of the organization to see how well the department is functioning. Sometimes systems too can consume some of this analytics to better the processes or the process lines. And then in certain cases, even customers are provided with some of this information. Now, a lot of things is changing, like I said. Now, with the advent of AI, especially with GPT, like what we see with Chat GPT, massive strides are taking place. GPT has now enabled the creation of AI co-pilots, and users can ask co-pilots for different types of analytics to be generated. They can also have co-pilots guide them to create their data science models. They can have co-pilots guide them to write or create the right queries for their reports. So this means that the analyst will be able to do most of the work, or even all of the work, that developers and data scientists used to do. And soon, certain dashboards and scorecards don't even have to be created by hand. Business users will just have to ask the AI, and the AI will create the dashboards for them. For example, last month, Microsoft announced something called Microsoft Fabric, where they demonstrated how using a co-pilot, users can have dashboards generated in ChatGPT style itself. They also demonstrated how you can create your own co-pilots that will analyze and present information from your own data sources. Soon, AI will not even require any human intervention to generate content. All you will have to do is ask, and the business users can ask, and the AI will just give the right information in the right type of content that the business user desires. But there is one thing that is important to all of this, and that's data. Data is the center of everything. So for AI to work well and to work properly, your data has to exist in the proper way. Right? So let us look at what are some of the common pitfalls in customers or anyone's analytics journey. So part of our work at Interlint in helping our customers in the analytics journey is to identify their problems. And one of the common problems that we have noticed is bad data. So bad data goes a long way. If the data that goes into analytics is not standardized or consistent, the content that comes out of it will also reflect the same, resulting in wrong information and very annoyed stakeholders. Now, because of bad data, a lot of manual consolidation is done at different levels. If you look at this picture, someone is manually taking data from systems, cross-referencing that against other systems or spreadsheets to make sure that the data is correct. Now, this takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and which means the information that the consumer gets can be outdated, uh, but you have already invested a lot of money to get this information. And also, manual consolidation is done by humans, which always leads to errors. Siloed analytics is another problem that we've noticed. Now, you can look at the problem from two perspectives. The first perspective is from an application or vendor-specific angle. Here, the analytics is done based on what the vendor provides. Now, if you look at the first silo, we have M3 multi-tenant solution that pumps data into the data lake, which is eventually presented as standard analytics through Burst. The second silo is based on the application. So this is an in-house. This can be an in-house application running on a SQL database where the data is pulled into Power BI for some custom analytics. The third silo is also application specific. You have a CRM system such as Salesforce, from which a data dump is taken onto Excel. Calculations are done on Excel and also presented through Excel. So we can see that there are three silos doing three different things with three different tools, which means you're using different tools or different tools are being invested on without much planning. Now, another way of looking at siloed analytics is from a departmental or business function specific angle. Here you can see that each department or function is doing their own analytics, even though M3 is the common factor. Okay, so if you look at the first one, finance is bringing data into Excel in the form of a data dump, doing their calculations and data preparation there, and viewing that through Excel. The second case, sales and marketing, is using Infor M3, which is more or less the same information with some additional data from another system, bringing all of that information into a SQL database, mashing it up, and using Power BI for that purpose. And then you have supply chain using M3 and some additional Excel data and doing the same thing or a similar thing to what finance is doing. Okay, so surely there is some amount of work that each department is doing that is common. But because it's a siloed approach, the duplicate work is going to be there. So the bottom line here is that when it comes to siloed analytics, the analytics is limited by sometimes the departments and sometimes the functions, or by the following vendor specific or system specific methodologies to do your analytics. So because there is no proper sharing or standards, the same effort, the same work is done in different ways, which can result in what we call multiple sources of the truth. Imagine when one department reports one number and another department reports another number for the same KPI, which one will you trust? Now, considering all of these pitfalls, you may want to think of a solution that will help solve all of these problems and get you ready for the AI era. But when you look at the market for the right tools and technologies to build a solution, there is massive fragmentation. It is very difficult to identify what you need to use and how they will integrate with each other. Now, this picture here is put together by a website called Firstmark. It lists all the significant tools and technologies in the data and machine learning space. So if I just scroll to the right, you will see under different categorizations there are a whole bunch of technologies. So if it's going to be like this, when it's this huge, how are you going to choose what you need, which set of technologies will you use to integrate, which set of technologies will you use to store, which set of technologies will you use to visualize? All of those questions are going to come in. But what you need to first realize is to avoid these pitfalls, there needs to be a focus on the data. And like I said earlier, data is the center of all of this. The data needs to be organized in the right way so that the analytics can be effectively done for the AI era. So how do we go about this? The answer lies in what we call simply an analytics platform. So we define this platform as a single source of truth for your every data and AI need. Let's take a look at what it is made of. So it is a single, consolidated, comprehensive analytics platform that brings all your data into one place and makes it accessible for many different purposes. It treats all your systems and databases the same. If it's an ERP like M3, or if it's a CRM like Salesforce, or even sales budgets on Excel, it brings them to live in one single place. So what we do here is we bring it in one single place, which is implemented in the form of a data lake or lakehouse. The platform then uses this data to build analytical structures that is applicable for the entire organization. This makes analysts and data users from across the organization to easily consume data without having to spend time transforming or manually consolidating this information. So this is implemented in the form of a lakehouse or warehouse. The third layer takes the analytical data from the warehouse and builds business analytics models on top of them. And these business analytics models are built for specific business functions or departments. This is the single source for insights, where businesses can use their own and do their own analysis on top of them, build their own dashboards and so forth by just simply dragging and dropping. So the analytics platform, it eliminates silos drastically. It minimizes bad data and manual consolidation of data, and is technology agnostic. What we do what we do is we understand the customer's technology investments, growth path, data complexities, and many other parameters, and then recommend the right tools and technologies to build this data platform. And right around this is data governance to ensure that the data platform and also the entire data estate has a level of governance set into place. So with such a platform, like I previously said, different types of analytics can be done, from dashboards to self-service to predictive. And it also paves the way for AI to fit into the picture perfectly. So let's switch back to the data sources once again. So like I said, the data sources can be anything that is used in the organization. Okay? So let me frame a question focusing on M3. Right? So how would one pull data from Info M3 to the analytics platform? So these are some of the standard mechanisms for data extraction from M3. Multi-tenant has two major options. For both these options, data is first synced to Info's data lake and then exposed for multiple options. The two major ones, like I said, are through Info Ion's ETL tool and streaming options. The ETL tool pushes out data every 10 minutes to a specific destination. And it's great for batch loads, while streaming syncs instantaneously and it's great for near real-time loads. There are multiple destinations that can be configured um, for this piece here, such as SQL Server Postgres for the ETL tool option, and Postgres database services on AWS or Azure for the streaming option. So this database is what will be used as the source for the analytics platform. Right? So you can either have data brought in batch-wise, or it can be streamed. There are also other mechanisms that can be used, such as connecting directly to the info data lake through options such as Compass JDBC or Compass APIs, instead of using InfoRion. And on the on-premises side of things, we can configure Kafka on the M3 replicated database, and the data changes can then stream in near real time to a database, or it can even be directly pulled into the analytics platform. So depending on how we schedule the Kafka loads, we can make it batch-wise, or it can be streamed. So with that, let's take a look at some of the case studies of our analytics platform implementations. So the first one is a billion-dollar apparel manufacturer with a presence in 6 countries with 60,000 plus people. One of their problems is they have a very large M3 implementation, which means there's a lot of data and a lot of processes implemented in there. It also has about 100 plus satellite systems that is feeding off or feeding into M3. This means there is more than just one data source, okay, with differently structured data. The bigger and that led to a lot of non-standardization. So we saw a lot of non-standardized data, the way it was stored. And even when looking at it from a business perspective, even the terminology used to describe some of the data was different between or among the different departments. And since the organization is large, the data and analytics work that they did was very, very siloed. So, for example, the same KPIs were generated by multiple departments with different numbers. So when Fortude visited the problem, we did a detailed study of their entire data ecosystem. We put down a 3-year plan for their analytics journey, and then we laid down the foundation for the analytics platform and set up the technology architecture for that platform. We also set up a dedicated team because this was a large implementation of M3, a large organization. So we set up a dedicated team for analytics to run that 3-year plan. We focused on delivering their top 83 KPIs. So the focus was based off the KPIs that the organization had, which means we would bring down the tables necessary for these KPIs from the various systems, including M3, and put them into the data lake and take it to the 3-level structure of our analytics platform. Yes, and then and we broke this down into initiatives. We did not do all 83 KPIs in one go. And so we broke them down into initiatives of smaller sized groups. And we planned out and started implementing each initiative, which would take about 3 to 4 months. And then as each of those initiatives completed, the data lake, the data warehouse, and the models started growing with data and the analytics pieces. So by running these as initiatives, the results were seen very soon, very fast by the stakeholders, and they were able to provide feedback so that we can take that feedback back into the solution and implement that in the subsequent initiatives. And we did not just stop there. Data is nothing when no one uses it, right? So we enabled business users to use analytics by exposing the models to them and training them to use the models to create their own dashboards and so forth. We also set up an adoption drive by conducting monthly dashboard in a day events, user group meetups, and additional training for departments. So now, since humans can easily work with the data and do analytics, the next step for the organization is to bring in AI to further enhance their analytics experience. The next case study is a USD 800 million 3PL or third-party logistics company in the US that connects their customers with carriers and enables transportation. They have a very well-structured in-house built system and Microsoft Dynamics as the ERP. Their problems were very different from the previous case study. They were too focused on operational reporting. They had no strategy for analytics. And their biggest need was real-time analytics to monitor the transportation. So the solution for this customer was a 10-day health check to take a look at how their systems were performing and what their data and analytics ecosystem look like and the practices look like. And then once again, we laid down a foundation for the analytics platform. For this customer, we did not go with a 3-year plan, but we went with a more agile, initiative-based or function-based plan. So we started off with sales and operations because that was their priority, and then followed up with finance, and the rest of the business functions came afterwards. So once the first initiative was done, they were directly able to start applying their in-house AI that they were using for monitoring the operations. So they were struggling to use that at the beginning. So once the analytic platform was set up with near real-time data, they were able to use their AI monitoring successfully. So now they also have, apart from the AI monitoring, they also have standard analytics, a standard analytics strategy to look at the big picture of their business. So this is to point out that the analytics platform methodology that we do works for a diverse types of businesses with diverse data needs. So as long as you have the data brought in and organized in the right way, we can open the window for many types of opportunities. So when you look at the era of AI and how it is impacting the way we are doing analytics, we already are seeing generative dashboards and analytics in the work, like I talked about earlier with what's happening with Fabric. And it is also a matter of time that AI will be powering data consolidation, data modeling, and a lot of other tasks. So, but what is important is that we need to have our data enabled for all of this. If your data is not going to be right, then none of this will be possible. So with that, let's head over to our Q&A.
Wow, thank you, Gugler. Quite a lot to take in there, but I think there are some common themes and hopefully some points that resonate with everybody that's joined today. So if there are any other questions, I've got a few that have come through, but if there are any other, please do put them in the chat at any point, or raise your hand and let's have them out in the open. But just to kick off, let me ask you, if there's an organization that's got M3, they're talking about employing a data lake, naturally they'll gravitate towards Info's own offerings in this space, like Info Data Lake or Info Fabric. But why might they want to reconsider this approach?
Okay, that's a good question, James. So if you look at Info's data lake or Info Fabric, it is vendor specific. So what it supports is bringing in the information from the info stack of systems. So what we need to look at is it's not just info systems that are part of an organization's data. You have a whole bunch of other systems as well. So what we need to look at is to bring all of this information into a generic space, which will support all of that. So otherwise, what's going to happen is that you are inadvertently going to still be siloing yourself, creating a silo based on vendor with that set of data. So, and also if you're going to bring in your own data into Info's data lake from external systems, again, it's going to be troublesome and costly.
Okay, thank you. I guess slightly following on from that, what is the technology or tech stack that powers the analytics platform you're talking about?
Okay, so the analytics platform is technology agnostic, which means depending on what the customer's investments are in technology and a lot of other factors, including their data volumes, their data sources, and all of that, it can be different technologies that can be coupled together to create this. Now, for example, if you look at the first case study that I spoke about, their data lake and lakehouse, the data lake is on AWS. And on top of that, you have Azure, AWS-based Databricks making up the lakehouse, which is the first layer. And then you have Snowflake making up the second layer, and Power BI making up the third layer. Whereas in the second case study, the entire stack was on Azure with Power BI. So it is a technology agnostic. So it's based on a lot of different parameters. It can change. So what we do is that we go in and perform the assessment or health check that I talked about. And during this health check, we will look at various parameters and suggest and recommend the best set of technologies that would help to build this platform.
Okay, so slightly controversial, I think, now for the info folk that are on the call, but why would you choose to go with a Microsoft tech stack over others for this purpose?
Right. So Microsoft has been an industry leader, or is an industry leader in 4 of the main pillars of the Gartner quadrant that deals with data. Right, and they have been in the leader and visionary category in all of these 4 category pillars. So that's one main reason. And then they have the set of technologies that can be used across the breadth of phases that it will take to get from the start to the end of an analytics platform.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think that's it for the questions, unless there's anything else that anybody wants to ask. If there's anybody on mute, Lena, who's got something to ask, but
yeah, but no, it's feel free there. You can just unmute and ask questions if you need to or want to. I haven't got anything in the chat. Have you? No.
No. Okay. Well, look, if you're interested in learning more, Lena's going to be sharing the deck, and on the back you've got contact details for both Gogula and myself. But if there is nothing else, I just want to thank you, Lena, and the Info team for giving Fortune the chance to share these insights. And most importantly, thank you for everybody for joining and listening to us. I hope you've picked something up from it.
Yes, let's hope. And thanks to you both, all of you, for helping us out of this. And then I will conclude and say thanks for joining, everybody. See you some other time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.